Have you ever wondered how applications are scaled from the basic to a level beyond basic to mid-range? The post on my screen, as you can see, is a good example of such situation. And I'm going to try to break it down and try to explain to you why this has happened and the mistake you should not be making. Yeah. This post is great and is from a developer that is reflecting on a project that almost crashed under its own success. And honestly, this evolution is quite impressive. That is the way they've gone from where they start to where they are now. You can tell that the developer has actually come a long way in how they think about architecture and skill. Now, I will be criticizing a little part of it, the fact that they actually stored files directly on the server. That is classic Ungo, basically. It might seem like a shortcut at MVP stage, but it is risky. If anything happens to the server, let's say hardware failure, accidental wipe, or even bad deployment, or maybe you install something you're not supposed to install, those files are gone. And from the posts, I don't see anywhere where the developer actually stated that they had a redundancy. Maybe if something happens to that particular server, there's another server that is actually in charge to pick things up. And simply because of that, if anything happens to that particular server, all the files that has been uploaded on the server is totally gone. So, and if users are already using your application and you lose your file, that's a big problem. You are in trouble because they are not going to trust you again. So as the application grew, things fell apart, not because of bug, as the developer said, but because no one thought the MVP would grow that fast. So I feel like the reason why they probably rushed things, to be fair, is something I see all the time, especially when clients are rushing to go live. They usually prioritize shipping and fixing bugs later. Most of them do. But when you are dealing with uploads or you are dealing with an application that is heavily dependent on uploading of files, then you should not be making that kind of mistake and relying on uploading files to the server. The irony, though, is upload sometimes doesn't feel like something that is dangerous, but it can quietly kill your server. It can quietly kill the storage space, the CPU, the bandwidth. All can be eaten up, right? All can be ate up, right? So, one thing they have done right now is that is the good part is the new implementation is much cleaner, is much scalable, and much robust. So let's break it down. The first thing the user went with is object storage first. Never store files on your app server ever. It's not like you can't store files on your app server, but you can store files that you know are user dependent on your app server. So the best thing to do is make use of storage, third-party storage like S3 or Blackblaze or Cloudflare or any of those third parties that provide you the ability to actually store static files such as images, audios, videos, and the likes. And you also ensure that you integrate CDN. All of this can actually take your application from slowing down to a much to loading at a much faster speed because now your files are being loaded from a different location and it is not reliant on loading those files from your server before loading the whole application. Another thing they did was implementation of resumable upload. Using tools such as tools.io for chunked uploads is a smart move, especially for spotty networks. For example, for those of us that are in Nigeria, we know that our network can go off at any time. We know that our network can actually drop at any time. And because of that, this kind of third-party service is very useful. It will help you to give room for users that have bad network. So if they lose their network, they can easily resume the upload. Now, the usage of pre-signed URL, I don't know why this was not initially used. It's something that I like to use when I work on APIs. So pre-signed URL is basically a way where you generate a URL and send to the client to upload file directly to the storage. So that means you don't need to worry about the configuration of your server. You're not overloading your server RAM. You're not overloading your server storage. You are not using your server bandwidth, which could actually be used to serve other users, right? So basically, it means less server load, faster upload, and way more scalable than actually sending the files down to the backend. Now, the next thing they did was background processing. Once uploaded, files usually need some time or some love, compress the images, transcode video. All of these are basic stuffs, right? The usage of queues, and most of this framework provide it. Unless just framework that I'm familiar with, I know you can use something like BoolMQ to actually process files in the background or run background process. On Python, there is App Scheduler, there is Celery for processing files in the background. And you can also use something like AWS Lambda. So let's say you want to convert your image from one format of create different resize. Once the file has been uploaded, just send the URL or the image to an AWS Lambda. Let it do the work for you. That way you are not overloading your server. All of these are options, and you can actually make use of them to reduce the workload on your server so that users can actually get their response faster and you are not overusing the little RAM or the storage that you have in place. And finally, the security layer, file type validation, virus scanning, size limits are must haves, definitely. But I feel like the enforcing of file size is something that should have been done. It's not something that should be coming after you pushed or before all of those things. And that is another thing that I don't like, um that probably this dev didn't actually take care of. So you need to ensure that you have proper file validation and size limits. Then if your client has the money to actually make payments for virus scanning, because those are things that you have to do in that has to do with using a third party package or a third party service. So yeah, it started off on a rocky kind of feeling for them, but I'm happy that this developer has clearly learned from experience and now they have got a scalable production ready file upload architecture. The key takeaway is, for founders and developers, don't wait until thousands of users to build like you should build. Don't be in a rush to release a product that is going to crash after the first three after the first 3 days actually launching it. It doesn't look good on you, and you are going to only churn users because you are going to lose a couple of users simply because of that. So if you are shipping an application that handles user upload, take a hard look at your architecture before scale becomes a problem. There are, in fact, even if you don't have money to pay for all of these things, there are so many services these days that provide you the ability to upload for free. You don't need to, for example, I know Cloudinary provides ability to upload for free. AWS S3, if you are first registering, you can upload for free for about a year. They give you that bandwidth that you can use, right? So all of these things are available. I know Google also provides. So for a new founder, you don't need to break the bank. There are ways around it. Yeah. So MVPs are great, but don't cut corners. Thank you.